So let's so so let's just say your little bouquet won't get you very far, but so down there slick, see my sleeves are full of tricks. You just say.
So how did Daisy come to be? Start me off from the very beginning.
Ooh, okay. If we're going to the very, very beginning, we would have to go back to the year before last. So that would be like mid 2019-ish. I would say like summer of 2019. I was scrolling on the gram and I remember this little video popped up of a super old Betty Boop cartoon. You know, black and white, really lo-fi, kind of grainy. The audio wasn't that good, but it was this little ghost-looking man and he was singing and dancing to this song. And this song, whatever it was, it just got latched into my brain in like a bad way.
She will search this wide world over, but she never find another sweet man like me.
And it was one of these things where I just found myself continuing to go back to this post to listen to this, you know, little 30 seconds or whatever it was. So I Googled the lyrics that I could kind of make out, and I found out it was a song called St. James Infirmary Blues by Cab Calloway. I had never heard of that song and had never heard of Cab before any of this. So I kind of went down that rabbit hole of looking into, you know, what kind of music he did. And I remember finding a version that John Batiste played, actually. It was this video, it was a live session of him playing the song, St. James Infirmary Blues. It was just him at a piano, and there was this really light percussion and background vocals behind him. And the vibe here was just so absolutely chilling and thrilling. That was the moment that I knew. I was like, okay, I want a piece of whatever this is. And that was when I knew that this was definitely going to be the next song I wrote. There's always a moment. There's always a moment where you just make up in your brain like, okay, we're in. And that was it for me. So I sit down, I kind of start trying to piece this thing together on the guitar, and writing on the guitar is it's an interesting experience for me because writing on the piano, for example, I just know what tricks I can pull from, I know what progressions are there at my disposal. I just feel like I know where everything is in the cupboards, right? Like I'm very familiar with that landscape. And guitar, of course, I was never like formally trained on, so it feels a little bit like the Wild West to me when I'm like teaching myself something on guitar. I don't think some people like believe me when I say this, but dead honest truth is sometimes I'll just claw it. I'll curl my fingers around the fretboard, not look at where they're landing, strum it. It sounds terrible, of course, and then I'll move one finger at a time, like a string down or a fret up or whatever, until we get something that kind of sounds nice. And from there you can kind of, you know, it's purely by ear. You're just feeling around in the dark for something that sounds good. But for me, it's piecing together a song purely sonically, and where there's no visual engagement whatsoever. It takes forever. It's the least efficient way to write a song in the world, but if you have some patience, which sometimes I do, yeah, you can get some cool stuff out of it. So I started putting together the chord progression, and I remember thinking to myself, like, so much of pop songwriting 101 is how relatable can you make it, right? How can you meet your listener at their level so as to really connect with them? And that's a really big part of what makes so many great pop songs great. But I remember thinking to myself, what if I flipped it? You know, what if I was, as a narrator, just starting off taunting the listener? And like maybe it was this kind of thing where I was trying to convince them that I was on their level, but really we were in totally different worlds. And the vibe of this song was like, from the get-go, so deceitful and kind of sinister that I thought I might be able to get away with it with this one. So yeah, I write the first little verse and posted it to Instagram, and my fans liked it. You know, it was marginally successful, I would say. So you wanna marry Daisy? Yeah, good luck with that. You got about as much of a chance of licking the brim of my hat. Nothing like crazy exciting happened with it, except for this gal Nova. Shout out to Barely a Bell. Really amazing theater gal who really liked the song, and she like showed it to a bunch of her followers and got them on board. So that was really cool. But yeah, so I kind of had this little whimsical verse, really, and I knew there was a full song here. I knew it was going to become something, but I thought to myself, like, okay, Spence, maybe a little too whimsical, maybe just a little, let's dial down the theatricality a little bit. So I scrapped all the lyrics, and I rewrote it into the song that I would call the Sycamore Blues. And it was this kind of political, pretty tongue-in-cheek, pretty snide, message throughout this song that I would go on to bring to my band, and then we would go on to perform this song, across Seattle. It like became a pretty standard part of our rep.
But monkey see opportunity, I think monkey ought to be forgiven. If my gospel's too hostile, you can call your pediatrician, 'cause this rhythm be rocking as we go along.
And funny enough, actually, my drummer, Jesse, was the only person of all my friends that I showed the OG Daisy lyrics to. He was the only one that said, like, ooh, man, I think I like the Daisy version better. And he, sweetheart, he like went along with me and everything. There was no bitterness or whatever. But yeah, definitely should have listened to him a little bit earlier on that one.
So then how do we get back to the Daisy version of the song?
Yes, so we fast forward to fall 2020, last fall. I am working on getting some new singles to release. I had 2 ready, and I was working on a 3rd, I remember. And around this time is when I started poking around with TikTok, just kind of dipping my toes in a little bit. And I remember in the first kind of week or 2 of me posting like really consistently to try and drum up some kind of action over there, I had this snippet that I posted of a little piano ballad called Mr. Rose. Just this really soft, gentle kind of story that I had come up with.
Had to live without him, I want nothing more to do with this mountain. Mr. Rose, I don't suppose you'd want to spend your afternoon with me.
And long story short, it had a moment, I'll say. I'm always like careful about using the word viral, the V word, because it's so relative and I don't know, means different things to everybody. But this one, yeah, it started getting a lot of views and a lot of attention, and we had a ton of requests coming in for a full version of it. So I looked at my, songs that I had slated, and I was like, yeah, there's some wiggle room here for sure. If people are like demanding a full version of this so hard, let's do it. So yeah, I rescheduled my next few months, and we slated Mr. Rose in for a Christmas time release. And that will come into play later on in the story, believe it or not. I really quickly kind of figured out, okay, what are the other snippets that I have that I could be posting? And Sycamore Blues came up, and I was like, that version of the song might be a little, it was just a little too like gotcha, or a little too much poking fun for the kind of stuff I had been doing on TikTok. And so the original kind of Daisy version popped into my mind as an option. So I was like, all right, let's do it. And I had a trip scheduled to fly back to Colorado to hang out with my family for a couple days. And I remember I was getting a couple of videos ready before I left town, so I would have some stuff to post while I was away. And I remember that night, it was like midway through my trip back home. I was sitting in my living room. My mom was behind me in the kitchen, just hanging out. And I'm on TikTok. I'm about to post the Daisy thing. I'm like lining up the little tiny lyrics that is so hard to do with their app because I have these big, like schnitzel thumbs, sausage thumbs. I don't know why I just said schnitzel. But yeah, I was like lining things up and trying to get it ready. And I remember I told myself, I was like, Spence, don't you count your chickens. This is the wrong industry to count your chickens because you never know what's gonna, go anywhere and what's not. But I couldn't shake this feeling that, like, if any of my posts had the chance, had the juice to go the distance, this one might have been it. So got it all ready, posted it, turned my phone off, and just turned it upside down. And I told my mom and my brother, who were also on TikTok and kind of, watching what I was up to over there. I told them, I was like, hey guys, don't tell me what's going on tonight, like whatever. And throughout the night, I could like kind of see them out of the corner of my eye, snickering, and asking me like, Spence, have you checked yet? Because they're watching this video. They're watching what's happening with it right off the bat.
So you wanna marry Daisy? Yeah, well, good luck with that. You got about as much of a chance of licking the brim of my hat, 'cause she's a purebred.
I didn't really mess with it until I went to bed, and then right before bed, I turned my phone back on and I opened it up, and it was like, God, I think it had like 200,000 views already, which had just blown out Mr. Rose. The entire Mr. Rose run had never reached what Daisy just did in like 4 hours. It felt exciting. It felt like something was really happening here. And so over the course of the next week and a half, I went from like 8,000 to 65,000 followers, I think, which is just bananas. And so I stopped posting for way longer than I should have. I lost a ton of momentum, but I just couldn't wrap my head around like so many new people with me. And, eventually we got that beautiful capital M, the 1 million view mark, which that was the point where I finally allowed myself to say, all right, we can call this viral. This was a viral video if we hit the capital M. So that was it, really. Just like Mr. Rose, I knew that this was a kind of rare opportunity where my people were telling me so directly, this is what we want, please, thank you, have a good day. And I thought to myself, wow, I'm about to have a really strange, liberating experience of bringing this song back from the dead, Because the Daisy version, lyrically, the Daisy version was I never intended to write that into a full song. I had gone a whole year kind of forgetting about that version. And this is where like the musical theater vibes sort of entered the picture as well, because I was thinking to myself, like, it felt so much like a freebie song that I had never really meant to write out. It was like we now interrupt your regularly scheduled programming type moment. So I was thinking to myself, like, okay, a lot of people do say my music sounds like it belongs on stage or in movies, and so this song really, it was me saying, like, you guys want a musical number? Oh, I will give you a musical number. So I think I want the chorus to be... kind of like playfully lighthearted. And then something like, and three. Listen up, kid, this one's feeling good. If Daisy ever says she wants to meet you under that magnolia tree and do something crazy tonight, you run for the hills. Because crazy's Daisy's way of saying that Paisley book that you've been praying to won't do you no good. And then end it just, I don't know, gas like that.
So you already have the song written now. What was the production process like?
Yes, so I knew right off the bat that there was no way I was going to be able to release Daisy in that timely of a manner, which was unfortunate because, you want nothing more than to give these folks that full song on a steaming platter, just right off the bat whenever there's so much attention around it. But the big holdup was Mr. Rose. I was already, in talks with this producer. Shout out to Philip Etherington for his work on Mr. Rose. The dude is, oh my God, he's a magician. He produced Lizzie McAlpine's first album, and that was, I found him that way, and very much a Hail Mary moment for me to reach out to him and get him to work on my thing, but that is a whole different story. But anyway, that was a really fun experience. So yeah, oddly enough, Mr. Rose is really the reason that Daisy sounds so bombastic and over the top, because whether I liked it or not, there was no rush. Like I had so much time to work on Daisy because Mr. Rose was coming up. That was slated first, which was weird. I had never had a song's schedule like dictate the sound of another song that directly, but you know, who's complaining, I guess. So I said to myself, all right, we have a lot of time to put this song together. Let's really do this right. Let's really do this big. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I wasn't saying it yet, but I was thinking live players. Like, let's get some actual session players on the track. And that's something I'd never done before. So that's, you know, it's probably not an exciting idea to most artists, but I was the only person who has ever played or sung on any of my tracks, save for little moments in the past. So that idea really excited me. I call up my producer, David Bashford, lovely old friend from college, and I said to him, hey man, I got this song. It's jazzy, it's bluesy. I know I'm neither of those genres really as an artist holistically, but I want it to be really big and crazy. And I don't have a demo for you. I just have a voice memo of me singing and playing guitar on it. But what do you say? You want to take a ride? And God bless that man, because he was like, yeah, let's see what we can do. Bridge. Nope. Verse 3, here we go. So first up for the session players was Mr. Jay Webb, who was a trumpet and brass player, really like very professional, clean sounding player that I found on TikTok. I kind of like to call him and me sort of in the same graduating class of TikTok there in the beginning, because we like kind of rose up at the same pace. And I mean, he has since, you know, blasted ahead of me for good reason. He's amazing. You turn and run for the hills, straight and fast. Because crazy Stacy's way of saying you'll end up playing on the wrong side of the grass. But yeah, we got him to be down to record virtually. Oh, and that's another thing, right? By the end of this, we had 4 different musicians, myself included. David as the producer, Caleb as the mix and master engineer, and then Quinn as the female voice kind of cameo thing. So we had 7 players on this project, and we were spread out amongst 5 cities in the US. So it was really cool that we were able to pull this whole thing off virtually. So I tracked the rhythm guitar and I got my demo vocals down and I sent it off to Jay to do his brass stuff. And then there was a friend of a friend, Mr. Martin Booty, and this guy, golly, I was just jamming on the chord progression of the first verse one night, and he was at my place and he was just improvising over it with an acoustic guitar. And I remember thinking, what did I just listen to? The sauce this man brought. I'm comfortable saying that Martin's work on this song was probably the secret ingredient, really. You know, because David and I, we're pulling from so many different inspirations on this. We've got, you know, Tim Burton songs we're listening to, and then I'm listening to a lot of Big Bad Voodoo Daddy, and there was a scene from The Mask, that Jim Carrey movie, where he's dancing around with Tina, and that whole vibe kind of had something that I wanted in this song. And I was listening to musical soundtracks like the Newsies. I remember listening to a bunch. Hairspray I was listening to for kind of vintage vibes. I felt like a like a crow or some kind of bird. I don't know. I was just like collecting little bits and pieces anywhere I could of stuff I wanted to try and jam in the song. And of course we were building this very classical, not classical, but classic like blues, jazz, big band landscape for the song. And I think it would have sounded great if we had had, you know, a trumpet solo or a bass solo or a saxophone there at that section towards the end. But bringing Martin in with his acoustic, I mean, it just has this almost like South American influenced, like gypsy jazz is what it is, which is a term he taught me. Yeah, so cool and different. And I just, it was all thanks to his prowess. I mean, watching that man fly on the fretboard is out of this world. So yeah, very, very lucky.
Ooh, yeah. If you just want to take that's just like
crazy. Oh yeah, you want to try that? Let's do it. I'm gonna do,
you know, just some nutso whatever.
Yeah,
things that
absolutely.
are more dramatic, I guess.
All right. David found this live drummer who put, you know, real percussion on it, and like when you hear that real organic like of the snare in that first section, oh my gosh, nothing like it. There was a lot of experimentation throughout this whole process. At one point we had a fiddle that was whirling away at one point that got ripped out. There was definitely saxophone on the track at some point, which I'm pretty sure all got ripped out. And last but not least, listen up close, kid, this one's for you. That girl ever twirls her little brunette curls and leans in close to say, meet me under the magnolia tonight. I want to get a little crazy. When you turn and run for the hills straight and fast. There was, yes, okay, so for the outro, this was funny. For the very, very outro of the song, those last final chords to take us away, I remember specifically for that section, I really wanted to capture the moodiness and the kind of, you know, like knot in your stomach feeling that John Batiste had achieved with his live session. And so I remember one night I texted David and I was like, hey, I want to layer in a church organ on top of all the brass, on top of all the horns there at the end. And what I did was I sent him the scene from, this was so stupid, I sent him the scene from Pirates of the Caribbean, where Davy Jones is hunched over his organ on his ship, and it's this nasty, wet, miserable looking scene, and the lighting's all low, and he's playing this super spooky Halloween-y thing. And I told David, like, I don't know what this vibe is, whatever you want to call it, get that on my song right now. So, and that was on there for like a long time, I remember. I mean, we had, I don't know how many rounds we went through with that organ on, but it must have been one of the very last drafts that David convinced me, and rightfully so, that it was just a little too corny. December 29th, some of the takes were a little low on the sauce. So we back. Wanna marry Daisy where that death wish don't come. Yeah. So you wanna marry Daisy where that death wish don't come free. Well, that death wish don't come free. Well, that death wish don't come free. Oh, hoo, hoo. Wait, let me try that. Well, that death wish don't come free. Yeah. This is the point in the song where Spence's voice turns into a pile of crackers, so we save it for last. In stealing from suckers like you, steal it, Marty. Steal it, Marty. I'll bring you with me. Why not? This is the money note, baby. Money note. Here we go. We got this.
on suckers like you.
David and I, going into the project, we joked with each other all the time, like, we're not jazz artists. We don't write blues. We don't write big band. We don't know what we're doing. But the beauty of that was that we knew so little about the genres that we didn't know what rules we were breaking. We weren't afraid to break rules because we didn't know that we were breaking them, right? And so, yeah, in the end, it just tied together. David is amazing like that. He really, I will throw 6 like antonyms at him of, like moods I want in my song, and somehow the dude will stitch it together. So, yeah, it was a beautiful, beautiful experience. Is that what it is? Na 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 na. Yeah. Brother. What if we tried, this might be wacky, but bum ba da dum.
That's not wacky at all.
I've seen wacky before. That's vanilla.
You like that one? Yeah, let's see.
So thank heavens you met me. She gets a green. Is that the thing that you were?
Yeah, the thing.
So, it's because it's a hit, a stab that then I reverse, and so it actually does pull out really cool. So here's what it sounds like isolated.
God, that's so cool. How did you come up with that?
And sometimes you're just inspired.
And is it true that you do all your own graphic design and album artwork?
I do, yeah. Perks of being a designer before being a full-time musician. And I mean, I am such a visual writer, and it's a very aesthetic experience for me to put a song together. So, I mean, oftentimes before a song's even finished, I'll kind of know how I want to, what clothes I want to put it in. Yeah, this was actually a super fun album cover to put together. I had steered away in the past from doing photographic covers just because, my songs, especially like the character study type ones, they all kind of felt, and then they all feel like they have such strong personalities and identities on their own that maybe it sounds weird, but I just didn't want to muck that up with my face too much. But whenever I posted the original TikTok of the Daisy video, the caption mentioned something about, villains that wear blouses, and a bunch of people kind of chatted about that in the comments. So this one kind of already had like a designated uniform, I guess, before I even finished the song.
All right, it is New Year's Eve, about to be 2021. Yeah. And I'm just starting to mood board for the album artwork a little bit here. I don't think I can flip mid-video, can I? No. I've just been kind of gathering some pics of a lot of kind of old jazz stuff. Obviously, Cab Calloway, he's got such a weird, creepy, I don't know who let this dude have a camera, but a lot of really cool, colorful stuff. And then I found this painting on DeviantArt, actually. I just thought that was kind of a cool pose that guy struck. And so this is sort of the sketch, kind of, maybe, would be to have me sitting in the middle, and then, yeah, this kind of wavy text. And definitely a few approaches that I tried, then, later scrapped. Not that that's anything out of the ordinary for my design process. Yeah, when it came time to figuring out the branding and the whole aesthetic of this song, I specifically wanted to challenge myself not to use texture, because that was something I had leaned on pretty heavily for my past releases. Timothy Petal, for example, that I had put out in the fall of 2020, that one was like really papery, a lot of the textures I used, which was so fun. And I was like working with kind of rubber stamp looks and sort of old postage materials I was working with. It was really, really quite a blast to put that stuff together. And then Life's a Mess, which came right after that, had like kind of a cross stitch sort of fabric-y thing going on.
And then Mr. Rose was more on the like vintage, grainy film type feeling. This is all very abstract, I know, but long story short, for this one, I wanted to just punch at you with like, 3 screaming hot colors and really bold, clean lines, but still just super wild, if that makes any sense at all.
So what's next for Spence Hood?
Ooh, good question. What is next? Gosh, I'll probably take a minute here to smell the roses and just, breathe. It's been a really, really busy few months. That being said, there's one project that I have kind of had in my back pocket ever since the sort of shuffling around that happened last fall with my release schedule. And I've been dying to put this out. So yeah, I'll be back on the release train pretty soon, I'm sure. There's also a big list an ever-growing list of artists that I'm finding that I'm just falling in love with, and I would love to collaborate with them. So I think, yeah, doing some more team-ups will definitely be on my horizon. Other than that, I should probably clean my apartment a little bit, scrub behind my ears, self-care and all that good stuff.
Every day, see, well, a dead's wish don't come free. But a wicked dream needs a wicked scheme, so thank heavens you met me.